Your favorite co-hosts are back for another episode for the Less is More Sports podcast. And if my co-host shirt, championship belt, background is any wow, cannot even talk right now. And you're the one who's not feeling great. But if that's any indication of what we're starting off with right now, I'm sure my co-host Klucas got plenty to say about the 2020 NBA Finals. So I'm going to let you have the floor with this one, and I'm going to take a step back for a second.
Bah! Baby goat.
Never,
Goat
ever
James.
make that sound ever again. Oh, my gosh.
Goat James.
I'm
your
still –
2020. Goat James, Anthony Davis, and the Los Angeles Lakers are your 2020 NBA champions. But you know what? Let's get serious for a second. I thought this series was going to go to 6. I said it from the beginning. No, it didn't happen in the order I quite said it. But LeBron James, 4 NBA titles, three with 3 different teams, 4-time NBA Finals MVP, 4-time regular season MVP. The accolades are just stacking up for LeBron for that GOAT conversation. They're just going to keep racking up. And you know what? Shout out to Anthony Davis finally pushing through to get his first ring as an NBA player. Frank, I don't know if you saw the video or not, but Frank Vogel during the celebration went up to AD and said, "Hey, Cal called me today and said he got me my first one. He's going to get you yours." Shout out Rondo cementing his Hall of Fame legacy with a second title. Shout out to Dwight Howard for finally winning an NBA title in Orlando. And then, shout out to the Henny god, J.R. Smith, who was shirtless before the game even ended. And shout out to the Miami Heat for, letting Dion Waiters go and letting him come to the Lakers and to win a title. To the Gummy Bear god. You got the Henny god and the Gummy Bear god.
I feel like this is so sacrilegious right now.
And then, dude, just between those two, I bet you the celebration was one to remember.
I would have loved to have been there, to be completely honest.
Shout out to JaVale for winning his 3rd NBA title that most people don't know. That's his 3rd, winning 2 with Golden State. And then, shout out to the real GOAT, Alex Caruso, for winning his first NBA title. Putting him in the starting lineup was the difference maker for Game 6. And who would have ever thought that adding Alex Caruso to the starting lineup would make a difference? So I think with Alex Caruso winning a title, I think the GOAT conversation needs to open up. Is it Alex Caruso or Brian Scalabrine?
I think that's a very fair question. I think we should that should be a poll we use in the Twitter poll. Who is the real GOAT? Is it Scal? Is it the bald Mamba? But anyways, I got a couple takeaways from what you said. First and foremost, never, ever make a freaking GOAT noise again, because that was quite disturbing. And now I've lost my train of thought, and I don't even know where to begin. Actually, I do. So anyways, but first and foremost, I do want to say, as a Miami Heat fan, as much respect as I have for LeBron, if the Heat are going to lose to anybody, I am content with it being LeBron. But obviously, you don't want your team to lose at all. I want to give a shout out to my Heat for a second and say that, it was a great run. To be honest, I didn't think they'd get past the Bucks. I don't think a lot of people did. And they proved everyone wrong. And you did. Yeah, obviously you did. But this team was really, really easy to fall in love with. We have some freaking dogs on our team, just guys that just grind it out. A lot of people owe Jimmy Butler an apology, saying he's not a guy you can build a team around. Prove them wrong. We got a nice little young core with Bam, Tyler Hero, even some quality role players with some youth like Duncan Robinson. I think the sky's the limit for the Miami Heat in the future. And they still got a lot of cap space, so they could bring in more pieces in the offseason. Will that be a big-name superstar? Will it be a quality role player like a Danilo Gallinari, who I think is who they should bring in? the future will be – we will find out. But, I just want to give them – I can't say enough about the Miami Heat and the run. It was exciting for me as a fan to watch, and I'm sure it was for most. But back to the team that actually won the NBA Finals, the Los Angeles Lakers. Another takeaway from what you said, who would have thought that Alex Caruso being inserted into the starting lineup would have made the difference? I don't know if it's necessarily Caruso being added to the starting lineup or the fact that the Lakers went small to counter the Miami Heat's small ball look. We saw the Lakers do it a couple times throughout the postseason. Every time they wanted to counter their opposition's size, either go small or go big, they could do it. When they wanted to go big against Houston, they brought in Dwight Howard, put him in the starting lineup. And they did it the same thing again in the next round against Denver. And then, to close out against Game 6 in the NBA Finals, they went, to counter Miami's small ball look. They inserted Alex Caruso. So I'm gonna be completely honest. I think we're gonna get on a little bit on track for this statement real quick is I kind of think I know where you stand. But being that LeBron won his 4th title, with his 3rd different team, in his 2nd different conference, where is the gap between Jordan and LeBron?
Okay, so taking my fan bias aside, if I'm being real, obviously I've given into the fact, I've said this before, that I will still say that Jordan is better than LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the gap went from maybe about this much of a gap to winning this title. It's about right here now. And people can say what they want. The old heads that watch Jordan and all that can say what they want. But the gap is a lot closer now than what people would like to admit. Because when you're looking at it, I'm looking at the totality of everything. So when I'm looking at it is, before LeBron retires, more than likely he's going to finish with 1 or 2 more NBA titles. So that'll put him at 5 or 6, which would match Kobe or Jordan, depending on if he wins 1 or 2. He's going to probably finish as the all-time leading scorer in NBA history in points. He's going to finish top 20 in rebounds all time, probably top 10 in assists. And then, like we said, 5, what would be at that time, maybe 5 titles, maybe 5 finals MVPs, maybe another MVP if he could make a run, maybe. That one's more far-fetched than the title, I believe. But, I mean, at that point, I think I said it for sure. I said this one closed the gap tremendously between the two. But I think one more really solidifies it as, okay, they're on an even playing field to me.
I think if he wins one more, he is the GOAT. I'm gonna be quite frank and say it. See, Jordan, I've always been one to say Jordan is the GOAT for the last 10 years. I mean, hell, that's how you and I met was a LeBron versus Jordan conversation. So shout out to
Dorian
that.
Todd.
Yes, and yeah, shout out to Dorian on that one. And still going strong all these years later. But anyways, I look at the complete body of work. Jordan was a complete assassin and money with the game on the line. He's number 1 in postseason PER, number 1 in postseason WAR. Just obviously in 6-0 in the finals. So I mean, Jordan was a killer when he needed to be a killer the most, and I think that's where a lot of people want to keep him at the GOAT. But like I said, looking at the complete body of work, when we look at accolades, we look at stats, we look at longevity, consistency. I mean, outside of, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I don't think anyone's done it like LeBron. Here's the thing about LeBron, though. I mean, like you said, all the accolades that he already has, 4 championships, 4 finals MVPs. He's done it. What's amazing about it is that he continues to play and, in my opinion, be the best player in the NBA 17 seasons into his career. And he shows, people say, oh, he has no signs of showing down. Okay, yeah, he does. He's showed a little bit. I'm not going to lie. He doesn't look as explosive as he did when he was, in his 20s. And you can't blame him. The dude's he's dude's closer to 40 than he is 30, really. But that being said, too, he's done it. It's not like he's done it in one place and like under one coaching staff. I mean, he's done it for 3 different teams. I'm not even going to try and count how many coaches he's had. And honestly, were any of those coaches, no disrespect to Spoelstra because that's my guy, but are any of those coaches as good as like a Phil Jackson?
And you know what? Just because I'm that guy, it's 7 coaches. Just because I'm that guy.
No, that's fine. I mean, I just wasn't going to take the time to.
But no, none of them
but
outside of Spoelstra, which again, if we're looking, into the future of basketball, outside of Spoelstra, I mean, and no disrespect to Eric Spoelstra or anything, he's not the caliber of Phil Jackson, but he's the closest thing to like a Phil Jackson type coach LeBron has had.
Right. And 7 different coaches, and he continues just to succeed. And it doesn't matter who his teammates are. And here's the thing. And here's what pisses me off to no end. And I know it does you too. Every time this conversation gets brought up about Jordan and LeBron, yada, 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 there's always got to be that one guy that wants to say, oh, LeBron needed help. LeBron needed help. I want any fan that's watching this podcast right now to point out a superstar that is either in the Hall of Fame or in the cusp of being in the Hall of Fame that has won multiple titles that did not have an all-star teammate. Do it. Show me somebody. And they got to win multiple, not that team that just got hot for a postseason and won a title. I mean, like consistently won.
Like you gotta. Shout out Joey Gatewood checking in the game now. Anyways, I feel like you last week watching the Texas game. It's not just, yeah. It's not just. It's like it's one thing to take your team to the finals. We've seen plenty of superstars, with no other superstar caliber or all-star caliber teammate take teams to the finals. We watched LeBron do it in 2007 against the Spurs. I mean, we it's the running joke. He took a bunch of homeless men to the NBA finals. You go back to Allen.
I feel like that's. I don't. I guess Delonte West wasn't on the team. I feel like that'd be really insensitive I feel like that'd be really insensitive, but he wasn't on that 2017. I don't think.
You go back to like I said, Allen Iverson in 2001, leading the Philadelphia 76ers to the finals. The closest thing that you can say, and it's not even really technically an argument because technically Jason Kidd was an all-star that year. Dirk has really been the only superstar to win a title without an all-star caliber teammate next to him.
But that still doesn't even count with my argument. My argument was multiple.
Right. And it's, like you said, it's one thing to win one. You got hot for one run, can you do it over the course of years? Can you be a LeBron James and go 9 out of 10 years to the finals? Can you be like Golden State, go to the title, go to the game, go to the finals 4 times, 4 straight years and win 3 of them? Can you be those Lakers? It takes a lot, and like it becomes easy to do it maybe one time, but to do it multiple times is a special feat. And I think that's one thing that everybody takes away from LeBron too. And when they're talking about his, what is it, 4-6 record in the finals, is everybody wants to talk about the 4-6 record, but nobody wants to talk about the fact that he's been to the finals 10 times.
More than half of his career,
it's hard to do that year in and year out.
He's made the finals more times than he's missed it. Let's put it to you like that.
Like, and then that's an impressive feat. I don't care who you are. Like, and especially in this decade, 2010 to 2020, you went to the finals every year except one year in this decade. Who can say that? And it's just like when everybody, when we were arguing on that post the other day, not me and you, but me, DJ, and who else was it? Alex. Me, DJ, and Alex argued. Jordan dominated the 90s, no doubt. LeBron dominated the 2010s. Like, they both individually dominated a decade. And I think everybody wants to take that away from LeBron because he didn't win the title every single year. And this narrative of, oh, Jordan would have won the title every year in the 90s had he not. This hold on, let me sidetrack. This argument that Skip Bayless has been making on Undisputed that he was forced to go play baseball for 2 years, that the NBA forced him to go play baseball. I don't think the NBA would force their star main attraction to go do anything.
I have, before you continue, I have heard a conspiracy theory that, obviously the Last Dance kind of debunks it a little bit, but the conspiracy theory I always heard is that Jordan got so deep into his gambling debts that rather than David Stern actually come out and say that they're going to suspend their, the star player for multiple 1 or 2 seasons, he said, hey, you've always wanted to go. David Stern approached Jordan and said, hey, you've always wanted to go play baseball. We have to suspend you, but we're going to make it look like you're retiring to go play baseball for a certain amount of time, then you're going to come back. I've heard that conspiracy theory, but The Last Dance kind of debunks it a little bit. And okay, we're going to get to college football in a little bit, but I'm looking at a score, and we'll get to that in a minute. But anyways, that's the conspiracy theory that I've always heard, but I don't know. But like I said, I haven't heard that one. No.
And so I mean, I've lost my train of thought now. But you can't take away 10 finals appearances. Like, you just can't. You can't just throw that away and say that's not good enough because he didn't win every single year. I mean, the longevity of going to the finals for 9 out of 10 years, and then the 1 year you didn't go is because you got hurt. Really, you mean you didn't even get a chance to get in the playoffs because you were hurt? The one time we can say LeBron James was hurt.
Yeah, people forget. People want to, knock LeBron for not making the playoffs with that Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma Lakers team, but people forget they were as high as a 4th seed when he was healthy, and then he missed it.
Going into that Christmas Day game that he got hurt in against Golden State, they were the 3rd seed in the Western Conference.
Oh, they was 3rd. They got as high as 3rd. Oh, wow.
They were the 3rd seed in the West. They were the 3rd seed in the West, and they were on, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, at that time, a 5-game win streak going into that Golden State game. So they were starting to catch momentum. And then, obviously, LeBron goes down. Then, over the course of while LeBron's hurt, Lonzo gets hurt, Brandon Ingram gets hurt, Kyle Kuzma gets hurt, JaVale McGee gets hurt, Rondo gets hurt. And then LeBron comes back to he's playing with a bunch of guys that got called up from the G League because his roster's hurt. So, I mean, I'm not saying that the Lakers would have made the finals last year at all, but you can't. But I mean, there would have been a possibility. We would have probably have seen Golden State Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. And then also, I just like to throw in the fact that everybody said LeBron James does this in the East. He would never do it in the West. And within 2 years, he's won an NBA title in the Western Conference.
It's like, what does LeBron have to do to silence his critics?
I'm convinced that LeBron could go out and score 102 points on 2 missed field goals, grab 22 rebounds, have 17 assists, and have 2 turnovers, and everybody would talk about the 2 turnovers.
I feel like
the 2 missed shots.
I feel like LeBron could win every game for the rest of his career, lead his team in every statistical category for the rest of his career, and there's always going to be those critics like a Skip Bayless or somebody that will just find something to knock him for, whether it's he's not getting his teammates involved enough or, he's causing for lack of development within the organization, setting them up for failure for when he retires or some BS narrative. But like LeBron, to me, what's so impressive is that he's been under a microscope from the time he was 16 years old, appointed the chosen one by Sports Illustrated magazine, which our own co-host Spencer loves to say that he appointed himself the chosen one. No. That was a narrative given to him by Sports Illustrated and ESPN, the magazine, and he chose to run with it. He was deemed the next best player after Jordan retired, or was compared to the greatest player who has ever played from the time he was 16 years old, and since entering the league has done nothing but make it an argument. And people hate that. Every time you have this child prodigy and this guy, and you have this, or not even a child prodigy or teen prodigy or whatever, people are always going to find envy in that because you have such a talented individual at such a young age that they're wishing failure on them. And when they get to the highest level and perform exactly how they're expected, in many ways exceeding expectations, people envy that. And that's what's so impressive about LeBron is that he's been having all this, attention around him at such a young age that he's not only kept his personal life pretty quiet, he's not getting into trouble, but he's continuing to silence the noise. And I don't know. I don't understand the hatred that comes with watching LeBron play. Like I said, I'm a fan of the team that he just played against in the finals, and I wasn't even upset that we lost. I mean, obviously I was, but it's like at the same time, it's like we lost to LeBron. Like, is that real? We went on a great run and we lost to the best player in the game. Is that really anything to be ashamed of? It shouldn't be.
Not at all. And we talk about it all the time. In a NBA playoffs, usually the team that wins usually has the best player on the floor. Now, given it's not always that scenario, but usually if you have the best player on the floor out of both teams, you have the best chance to win. And for LeBron's sake, that's been the narrative his whole career. But another thing that I cannot stand, and it's a point that Skip Bayless makes, and I've heard it on Facebook several times and everything, it's what I go back to where I said, well, LeBron can't do it in the East, or couldn't do it in the West. He did it all the time in the East. He can't do it in the West. Well, then he does it in the West, and now it's, Golden State was hurt all year. All the Clippers, they didn't get to play the Clippers. I'm sorry. That's the Clippers' fault for losing to Denver. It's just like Skip Bayless said the other day after they won the title. He said, on their rings, it should have an asterisk, and right underneath it, it should say, escaped playing the Clippers, or avoided playing the Clippers.
That has got to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's not like the Lakers just said. It's not like the NBA came up to them and said, hey, you could play the Clippers in a 7-game series, or you could just go straight to the NBA Finals. And they said, oh, well, fuck that. We were going to go straight to the NBA Finals. No. The Clippers didn't hold up their end of the bargain.
Exactly. That's not the Lakers' fault. The Lakers held up their end of the bargain. And wait, hold on, pause. You're saying this is Skip Bayless saying this?
Yeah, it shouldn't shock you.
It doesn't, but it does at the same time because of what he's always said on how NBA fans were robbed of a Kobe versus LeBron NBA Finals. He said Kobe held up his end of the bargain, but LeBron didn't. Well, now, Skip, your Clippers are the ones who are not holding up the bargain. And I'm not even going to go into the fact that when LeBron made the finals in 2007, Kobe didn't hold up his end of the bargain. But, that's a story for another day. But it's like here you have a team that he cheers for not holding up their end of the bargain, but it's LeBron's fault again.
Or if you want to go as far as to say in 2012, LeBron held up his end of the bargain by taking Miami to the finals, but Kobe and them couldn't hold up their end of the bargain beating OKC.
Or you could say, or
the year after, when they
OKC.
went and got Nash and Dwight Howard, and they still couldn't hold up their end of the bargain.
It's just so much inconsistency between our sports analysts. That's why we got this on podcast, because we do a much better job.
And the one thing I do like, and I know you don't like this person, you don't like Nick Wright, but he did make a very good point the other day when he said, it seems to me when it comes to talking about what bad Jordan did, we can't talk about it because he's perfect. He's never done anything wrong, but nobody wants to talk about from 84 to 90, what he didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
They always want to talk about what he did. It's just like Nick Wright said. He said, Jordan's career, as far, if y'all don't know, actually started in 1984. It didn't start in 1990. He didn't just come into the league and start winning championships. He didn't even win a playoff series until, 89, 88?
88. It's all that narrative about LeBron needed help. Jordan didn't even win a playoff series without Pippen.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, when Larry Bird was young and young and healthy, and was in his prime, he couldn't beat Larry Bird. He never beat Larry Bird in a playoff series, not even in a individual playoff series game, not even in a game. Never beat Larry Bird.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't beat the super team, Detroit Pistons. Couldn't get past them.
Well, he finally did, but
eventually did, yes. And let's be honest, had he had to play a what was the Showtime Lakers team, probably wouldn't have beat that Lakers team either. And everybody, and then the what Skip said the other day, he said when he was showing, or no, Chris Broussard, when he was naming off players that Jordan kept from winning a title, he said Hakeem Olajuwon. I said, how did he keep Hakeem Olajuwon from winning a title if he never faced him in the finals?
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, the 2 years that Jordan was gone, Hakeem Olajuwon got his titles.
Yeah. I mean, that's their argument that he kept him from winning titles, but it's like he never played him. So how can you say that? And I'm going to say this, though. And the more and more I talk about it, the more and more I'm willing to, going back to our original statement about Jordan and LeBron, the gap closing. I mean, for me, it's like right here, right now. And, like I said, I think another title, LeBron, it's like LeBron here. I mean, but here's one of the things that really impresses me is it talks about, when we talk about Jordan's dominance in the 90s, I shared something on our, the Facebook and the Twitter page about the competition that both played in the finals. Now, this is where it gets interesting, if you didn't already know. But I'm looking at Jordan, who he faced in the finals. It's got a symbol for the finals winner, a Hall of Fame sticker, an All-Star sticker, and an all-defensive sticker. And next to each player that fits that category, they have that sticker. So Michael Jordan in his first finals appearance looks pretty good. You have 3 Hall of Famers, Vlade Divac, James Worthy, and Magic Johnson. All 3 Hall of Famers, Magic and Worthy, were all NBA at the time. And not to be rude and be a millennial on my phone, but I'm reading this off. In his second finals appearance, I'm going to look really bad not knowing this name, but it was an all-defensive performer for the Trailblazers, and then you had Clyde Drexler, who was all-NBA and in the Hall of Fame.
Arvydas Sabonis, is that who it was?
It was not Sabonis. If this is Sabonis, then
okay.
No, this is not Sabonis. Sabonis was actually not in the NBA in the 90s. He actually was not cleared from the Soviet Union to come to the NBA until the late 90s, early 2000s. But again, then you have the Suns. You have 1 Hall of Famer in Charles Barkley and an all-defensive performer. The Sonics, you have an all-NBA performer in Shawn Kemp. You have a Hall of Famer, all-NBA, and all-defensive performer in Gary Payton. And then the next two series against the Jazz. The first series, you have 2 Hall of Famers, Stockton Malone. Stockton Malone were both were all-NBA and all-defense. The next season, Stockton was not all-NBA nor all-defense, but Malone was. And that rounds it up. You're following me still, right? This is LeBron's first finals appearance that he took a team of homeless people to the finals to. He has to go against 3 Hall of Famers, Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili. Duncan was all-NBA and all-defense, and an all-defensive performer in Bruce Bowen. His second finals, the loss to the Mavericks. 2 Hall of Famers, Dirk and Kidd. Dirk was all-NBA, and then all-defensive performer in Tyson Chandler. This is where things heat up. His third finals appearance. You have 3 potential Hall of Famers in KD, Westbrook, and Harden. KD and Westbrook were all NBA, and Ibaka was all defensive team.
And I was going to say, Ibaka could potentially make a Hall of Fame case.
I think that's a conversation for another day. And then you have his fourth finals against the Spurs again. Still Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili. Now insert Kawhi Leonard. And they played for the next 2 series. Now he returns to Cleveland, and he goes against Hall of Famer and future Hall of Famers and All NBA performers Steph and Klay Thompson, along with Draymond Green and Andrew Bogut, both being all defensive team.
And
then
not to mention Iguodala, who we all know was a very, very good defense player.
He was, but he's not listed. He was not all defense that year.
Right, but yeah.
Then the next year, the 73-9 Warriors team, still Steph, Clay, and Draymond, who are all NBA future Hall of Famers, and Draymond was all defensive team. Then the following year, you keep that three core player. Now you add Kevin Durant, who we all know is all NBA and Hall of Fame. And it's like that for the next 2 seasons. Now you fast forward to his 4th title. You have Jimmy Butler, who is all NBA, might make a case to be in the Hall of Fame one day. And then you have Bam, who is not on the all-NBA team, but was all defensive team and an NBA All-Star at that. So
And
you're looking at the talent.
And a potential Hall of Famer.
Too early to tell, but yes. And so if you're still following after all that, you're looking at the amount of talent that LeBron is constantly going up against in the finals, and you still want to knock him for needing help. Well, geez, Jordan would be 0-6 in the finals against that talent. I said what I said.
He probably would have beat Dallas.
I was kind of using being a little dramatic there, but you get what I'm saying.
I got you. Yeah.
No, he probably would have beat Dallas. He more than likely would have beat this Heat team. So more or less would be.
But outside of that, I mean, that's been my argument: is just find me somebody that Jordan played that was better than the Spurs team or the Warriors team.
The Warriors,
and you're
especially.
Not going to find it.
The Warriors, especially. I mean, the Spurs too. They were great. I mean, the 14 Spurs were great. So yeah, the 14 Spurs, and then the Kevin Durant.
And then you
Warriors.
Can even pick your poison with any of those Warriors teams, with KD or without KD. So
you really could. I mean, I don't think any team that Jordan played against could beat any of the Warriors teams that LeBron had to play. So I mean, it's a different era. It's different basketball. I mean, it's hard. It's tough enough to compare different eras, but if you really want to compare the teams if you want to compare like the talent that LeBron had around him, how about you compare the talent he was going against too? And here's another argument. Here's another argument that I always hear is that Jordan played in the era of the big man, so it was harder to attack the basket, but he still did. Okay, but who on the wing? Okay, did you have anybody like Giannis out on the wing or like Kevin Durant, people that are like 6'8" and above that can jump out of the gym and have 7-foot wingspans and can move like guards? You didn't have anybody like that when Jordan was playing.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you don't have guys
consistently
that
at least,
can play right. That can play pick and roll defense. Guys like Anthony Davis who can be an all defensive performer in the paint and on the perimeter. Giannis, Kawhi, where you could switch and it's not a matchup problem at all. You're not Jordan and them didn't have that. But then again, this is the era of pick and roll basketball. Yes, they were obviously playing pick and roll has been around forever, but it wasn't as much pick and roll back then as it is now.
I mean, I'm just want to say that I think basketball players nowadays are more talented. I think maybe in the 90s and the 80s and 90s they were mentally tougher or whatever, and they played a more physical brand. I think that's even a conversation for another day. But I think there's without a doubt that players now are so much more talented. We had Spencer on the show disagreeing with us, and that's fine. And when he's going to make his appearance, we can have him elaborate on that even more. But I'm not going to lie. If I remember correctly, I think his point was that they were playing more games. And I'm like, what does that have to do with talent? But, I mean, now it's like you look at guys. It's funny. And I was talking to one of my buddies the other day, and it's funny just how basketball went from. It went from, on the backs of big men to the backs of guards. And now it's like you need those big men to play like guards. It's just, I don't know, basketball is just evolving, and it's quite a sight to see, I'm not going to lie.
We went from an era growing up, me and you aren't that far off in age. I mean, yes, you're older than me, but like I'm sure you heard it just like I did growing up. You can't win basketball games shooting the three. That's not how you win basketball games. That's what we were always taught growing up.
You can't live and die on the 3-point shot.
And now, if you can't shoot the three, you're not going to win.
Yeah, it's the roles are reversed now.
And I want to end it on this, and we'll move on to we'll talk about college football now. But
hold on, we're not going to go into college football yet, but
or whatever you want to go into next. But we're going to end this little part of the segment with the everything we've talked about. To summarize it with the LeBron James mic drop. I just want my damn respect.
And respect to you. And I'm going to add with one more impressive stat that the Miami Heat had 7 players average double figures in the finals. So we are definitely a lot of balance. So I'm excited to see what we do in free agency and in the offseason, and we're going to be back. But moving on, I do want to get into college football, obviously, but we did a little something different today. We asked the fans what they wanted specifically here on the show. And one that I feel like I'm going to love talking to you about was actually posted by our baseball analyst, DJ Miller. He says, talk a little bit about the MLB postseason and why the Astros shouldn't be in it. Now, Klucas, please elaborate again why you and DJ seem to think that the Astros shouldn't be in it.
I hate the Astros.
Yes, why? I'm telling you to elaborate.
Cheaters.
That it?
Yeah, that summarizes everything I need to say. They're cheaters.
I'm going to be completely honest. I low-key want the Astros to win the World Series now. I really hope they do. They just tied up the series against Tampa Bay last night, 3-3. It's going 7 games. It takes notes. I mean, that's the thing. They have the pitching that can match Tampa Bay, and they're not quite as good on the defensive side, at fielding. But it don't take no time for those bats to start heating up. And the reason I want Houston to win the World Series now, my Cardinals are out of it, so I got no dog in any fight anymore. All the teams that I legitimately hate are out too. But here's the thing. The punishments were already handed. Let me look this up real quick. Yeah. Jeff Luhnow and A.J. Hinch are no longer a part of the team at the moment. This is the Astros' chance to show, with all this coming out, that they did not need these sign-stealing allegations, or whatever you want to call it, to win the World Series. This Astros team is legit top to bottom. And I think this can be their chance to silence some haters and say, look, we were good enough. This is we did it. It's embarrassing. We got caught up in it. We own that. But look, we didn't need it to win, and we bounced back and proved it this year. So I low-key want the Astros to win now, just to see you and DJ kind of cry about it. But more importantly, to show that they didn't need this to win, that this is a damn good ball club and more than deserving of winning the World Series. I don't agree with what they did either. But you're not going to convince me that they won off sign steal.
I hate the Astros.
He is not budging on that topic at all.
I won't budge. I hate the Astros.
All right, so I feel like you're not going to budge on that topic. We'll talk a little bit about the NL race quickly, and we have a very, which a lot of people except me, are surprised by, and that's the Braves are up 3-1 in the series over the Dodgers. It's funny. I was reading something. Reading something on the score before the series started, and it talks about how the Dodgers
3-2 after last night.
Oh, 3-2. Okay, it's 3-2. Okay. But it was talking about just how unbeatable the Dodgers are. And I'm just like, really? I mean, I look at Atlanta. They've got a lot of pop in that lineup as well. They field well. They have one of the best players in the game in Ronald Acuna. I love their pitching staff. That Freer kid, that kid's got some nasty stuff. So, looks like my prediction's coming true on that one. I predicted the Braves to be in the World Series before the season started.
Yeah, I've got no problem with. I believe I picked the Dodgers to come out.
Mm-hmm.
But it just goes to show what we all, kind of another thing, as we said growing up, when we all watched the Yankees, try to buy their way to a World Series, and you can't always just buy your way to a World Series. You can't just always go out and sign the best players and expect to win. Like, it just doesn't happen like that a lot of times. I really like this Braves team. My boss, who I talk about when we talk about Georgia football all the time, he's a Braves fan. He's from Atlanta. Watching him get excited for all this. And I really like how this Braves team is built. They're not really necessarily built off huge, big name free agents or anything. They're built through their system. They sign people that fit what they want to do. They let one go from St. Louis that they have now.
Let's not talk about him. We're not going to talk. We're not going to say his name. I'm not going to say his name.
The one that got away.
The one that got away. And, it's completely our fault, too, to be completely honest. Can't blame him at all. But he's absolutely raking for the Braves.
Maybe he could have been the difference for the Cardinals to make a postseason run this year.
He could have. The way he's been playing in Atlanta, yeah, we could have used that last year in the series against the Nationals. But, it's funny that you say that you like how this Braves team is built, how they're built through the draft or through their farm system and all that. So are you meaning to tell me that you like the way the Astros are built?
No.
Well, that's how they're built.
The Astros.
That's how their core is built.
I still hate them.
Their core. Well, you just said that you like the way when teams kind of build through their system. That is the Astros.
The Braves didn't cheat.
That we know of. Hello?
They know. They cheat. I don't like that either.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but you on the show last week admitted that this is the exact same. This is very almost identically similar to what the Patriots did with the Spygate scandal. But I'm pretty sure I've listened to you cheer for the Patriots a time or two.
I don't cheer for Patriots. I cheer for individual players. Get it right.
Individual players that play for the Patriots or played for the Patriots.
Yes. I didn't say there wasn't individual people maybe I liked for Houston, but as Houston as a whole, no.
So did you ever – but that still hasn't stopped you from cheering. You still wanted the Patriots to win for certain individuals?
Just for the certain individual. That's it.
Okay, I got another question, though. And is it fair to say that the culture, or the fan culture surrounding baseball and surrounding football is a little different? Because the reason I think it is. I think it's definitely 100, definitely. And the reason I say that, even because we're talking about the Patriots versus the Astros and why the Astros is viewed so much more as deviant than what the Patriots did, even though it's essentially the same thing. Another example we talk about, especially in baseball, is the steroid era, or the performance enhancing, the PED era. And you get guys like just Barry Bonds and Alex Rodriguez and Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, guys that were tied into the using performance-enhancing drugs, and they're almost demonized. Well, not they almost are. They are demonized by the Hall of Fame committee, which I think is, well, that's a conversation for another day, but I think that's just absolutely asinine. And it reminds me of an example, and I don't take what I see on Facebook too seriously, but it reminded me of a post that it was talking about how, exactly what I said about baseball, about these guys being, demonized by baseball. But it takes us back to the Patriots' last Super Bowl win over the Rams. And it had, early in the season, if you remember, Julian Edelman was suspended 4 games for PED use. And then before the game, we're talking about, is Julian Edelman a Hall of Famer? The culture's clearly not the same, because of the NFL had the same type of reaction as the MLB does. Julian Edelman's getting demonized. We're not talking about Julian Edelman being in the Hall of Fame.
I think, and I'm trying to think of how to put this. There's more of because of how old we call baseball America's pastime, I think there's more of a respect towards baseball when it comes to cheating and everything versus football. If you're kind of catching what I'm saying here, like people respect the game of baseball and how it's supposed to be played a lot more than they do football. They think of football as, you play dirty, whatever it takes to win, but baseball, it's a little different. So I think there's more of a respect level for the game and the pastime of baseball versus there is football.
That's a fair point. And, moving on to the very last question that we were asked, which, I'm sorry, fans, y'all got to step your game up. These are kind of, you got to step your question. We want to answer more questions. We will answer anything y'all want us to. But anyways,
I even
A
tagged
friend,
you all in a separate post and begged you all to say something.
yeah, and you didn't do it, scrubs. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, but then Cavante asked a question. Cavante's our friend Cavante asked a question, and he said, "Is Clayton Kershaw the James Harden of the MLB?" I don't really know how to answer that, to be completely honest.
Um, it's tough because yes, as James Harden struggled in the NBA playoffs. Yes, but from his is more of a shooting percentage wise versus his points per game. If you look at James Harden's points per game, I mean they're not that far off, but it's like it's not the Harden we know from the regular season. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna go yes. I'm gonna go yes and no on that. That's tough.
Yeah, it's so hard to compare each other to different athletes of different sports to each other, especially. I mean, I actually almost DJ responded to it, and I almost like his comparison better. He says that Kershaw is closer to being the Giannis of the MLB rather than the Harden, which I kind of can get behind that, because the reason being is Giannis, you look at what Giannis is. He's a freak of nature, something we quote unquote have never seen before, that is so dominant during the regular season, but then just doesn't show up in the playoffs. And that's now you apply that to Kershaw. I mean, gosh, Kershaw has some of the best pitching seasons we've ever seen. And like some of his, talent-wise, from a talent perspective, especially that curveball, it's just disgusting. And
with
to top it
Kershaw,
off, he's a lefty at that to top it off. So I mean, some of the stuff we're seeing from him it's just mind-boggling. And then you get to the postseason, and it's just
and see when we talk about Kershaw, like we all call him the best pitcher in baseball, but it's kind of like when you're wanting to mix it in, it's like you want to call him the best pitcher in baseball, but then you're like, but his postseason performances kind of keep it from that. But then you're like, this other side is his regular season is so dominant that it's hard to not make that case for him.
And that's the thing. I used to be a big Kershaw fan. I still like him, but he's losing respect in my eyes just because of how poor he plays in the postseason. I've actually gravitated to who I like watching pitching more. I've gravitated to, I think Scherzer is the best pitcher in the game now. And if anyone's right behind him, which is going to sound silly because he hasn't made the postseason yet, is Jacob deGrom. I think deGrom throws the best stuff, but I think complete body of
DeGrom's
work is
stuff is
Scherzer.
nasty.
It is completely nasty. I think deGrom throws the best stuff, but if you're looking at complete body of work, I think Scherzer is the best pitcher in baseball right now.
And my guy's coming up.
Talking about Shane Bieber?
Shane Bieber is on the rise.
Shane Bieber had a great season. I take nothing away from him. And, if you're going to give a shout out to Shane Bieber, I'm going to give a shout out to Jack Flaherty.
Yeah,
you like Flaherty.
Stuff. Yeah, he throws some nasty stuff.
I think we both got two young aces on our squads. I think that's a lot to be excited about.
I think I've got, not like to toot the horn. I think I've got two young aces in the making. Because Tristan McKenzie is coming as well. He's coming along fair. Nice.
That's a fair point. I think the Cardinals, even we kind of went through a little bit of struggles ever since our pitching coach, Dave Duncan, retired. But the Cardinals usually don't have to worry about pitching. So, but I think Flaherty is our next ace, that next guy that we relied on, kind of like our Chris Carpenters or our Adam Wainwrights of the world. Hey, Wainwright's, still going strong that we know of. Now, he kind of tested out the broadcast booth during the postseason this year, so I'm hoping that's not a sign of thing that he's not coming back next year, but that'll be yet to be seen. And I'm hoping Yachty comes back, but, that'll yet to be seen. So, anyways, I think it is time to move on to college football. So I know you're going to have a lot to talk about this absolute ass-kicking that your Wildcats are – oh, he's leaving. He's bringing out something.
Sorry. No, I'm not pulling out anything. Just had to – you're good.
Because he's got the hoodie on, so I'm sure he's going to have plenty to say about this ass kicking that Kentucky's putting on Tennessee right now.
Oh, the game's over. 34-7. Cats won.
Oh, the Notre Dame Louisville game's on. I got to put that on.
Yep. Your son is destroying Georgia Tech.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was the game I was watching earlier. And here's the crazy part, Lucas. I didn't think this is Is it possible for me? Think about it. Is it possible for someone like me to continue to be impressed week in and week out, or gain impressed, like be even more impressed week in and week out with somebody like Trevor Lawrence?
I mean, it's kind of hard to not be excited for generational talents.
I mean, it's just I thought there's no I figured there's no way, like, guy I've watched and a guy I think just is one of the most I think is the most pro. I'm going to be completely honest. He's the most pro-ready quarterback I've seen ever. I'm too young to remember Elway, but like Luck.
If we're going off me, then what we've seen, he's the most pro-ready quarterback since Andrew Luck.
I think he's more pro-ready than Andrew Luck was at that, when he was coming out of Stanford. And that's the thing. Trevor's going to be younger than Andrew coming out of college.
Is he?
Yeah, Andrew Luck played was at Stanford for 4 years.
Oh, I thought Andrew left after his third year.
No, he had a chance to leave after his third year, and that was the chance to and that's when like the whole conspiracy. What if Andrew Luck went to Carolina instead of Indy the next year? So yeah, but he did play 4 years. He was at Stanford for 4 years.
I was gonna say, yeah, because he played his last year with David Shaw after Harbaugh went to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. But let's talk about this.
I'm just going to say before we switch gears a little bit, I'm just going to say this: 391 yards and 5 touchdowns is a career day for most. That is a half for my child. A half. And Clemson won 73-10. Obviously, he only played one drive in the second half. That is a half. 5 touchdowns, almost 400 yards, one half. And what's so even crazier is that he checks every single – when you look at what you're looking for in a pro quarterback, he literally checks every single box as far as arm talent, what throws can he make, is he mobile, can he command the offense, is he vocal, does he love the game of football? He checks every box like that. The only knock you can put on this guy is that he comes from a talented program and that maybe it came too easy at times for him. That's it.
That it? You good?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about that ass whooping my Cats just put on the Rocky Top Tennessee Volunteers. Jump out the gate, 2 pick sixes back to back, 3 interceptions in 3 drives. You know what? From week 1 to week 2, where I said our defense is going to be a problem, our defense is no longer the problem in Lexington. Because let me tell you, them boys know how to take the football away. 6 interceptions last week against Mike Leach and I almost said Washington State and Mississippi State.
I honestly wouldn't blame you because he did coach at Washington State, and shout out to Gardner Minshew.
6 interceptions last week, 3 interceptions this week. They also had a forced fumble, 4 takeaways total on the game. My team knows how to get the ball back. Now the problem is, and it slightly was an issue. They picked it up in the second half, so it wasn't that big of an issue in the second half. But now the problem is, what can Kentucky do on offense after we force those turnovers is the next question. And I, as well as Terry has played since week 1, I still to this day will tell you that this offense will never take off until Joey Gatewood takes over at quarterback. We got a lot of talent on the offensive side. It's just I don't know whether – I'm almost at the point to where I don't know whether to blame Terry or my offensive coordinator. So, we have a 3-headed monster at running back with Chris Rodriguez, A.J. Rose, the coolest name in college football, Cavassier Smoke.
I feel like that Thad Castle when he did those that segment on the three top quarterbacks at the time, Tim Tebow, Sam Bradford, and Colt McCoy. When he gets to Colt McCoy, he goes, "Oh, I'm Colt McCoy. I got the coolest name in college football." And at the very end of the video, he's just like, "That is a really cool name." That's how I feel like with Smoke.
And
That's a really
so,
cool name.
I mean, Kentucky's won 2 straight. They're 2-2 now. They're finally playing like how I thought they would play from the jump. But it's just like I said, we just need a little bit more from the offensive side as a whole. I think as much as I like A.J. Rose, I think Chris Rodriguez is the best running back of the three. I told you that before the show. We started the show when the game was still on. I think Chris Rodriguez is the closest thing out of our running back group to Benny Snell. And, our receivers, we do have talented receivers, but, my quarterback has to be able to actually throw the ball more than 2 yards to them. But outside of that, I really like how Kentucky's played. I was hoping for a win today. Obviously, I did not expect what happened to happen. But in a rivalry game like this, you got to love when Kentucky comes down to Knoxville and just kicks the shit out of Tennessee.
I have a question about your defense, and I thought Kentucky had a lot of problems in the secondary in particular, especially after the loss to Ole Miss. But I'm going to be honest, I don't even know if it was it. Is it more that Kentucky had an issue that they fixed, or is it that Ole Miss is a really good offense? Because I'm watching them last week. Granted, Alabama's defense isn't the stereotypical Saban defense that just doesn't give up a lot of points, but at the same time, when you see a team like Ole Miss drop 48 on Alabama at all, that kind of raises a couple eyebrows a little bit. So, is Ole Miss's offense that good, or did Kentucky just need a lot of adjustments on that side of the ball?
No, Ole Miss's offense is really that good, and you know why? Because they have Lane Kiffin.
That's fair.
Lane Kiffin, I will argue it to this day, as far as college football goes, is the best offensive mind in college football. I will say.
I'm trying to think. I'm not. I think he's a great offensive mind. I'm trying to think though. Oh man. Are you talking from a coordinator or head coach standpoint, or it can be any of the above?
It could be either head coach or offensive coordinator. He's the best offensive mind in college football. And you could see it at Ole Miss. You could bring him to your program, and year one, he's going to make a huge, drastic change to your team on the offensive side of the football.
I could argue Mike Leach. But, I never really thought about that. So I'm not one to disagree.
And where I started this argument, look at what he did at Alabama. Alabama was a defensive ground and pound football team. Lane Kiffin gets there, and now the quarterbacks start to air it out a little more, and now Saban's like, oh, wow, this really opens up a lot of different things. Now, Steve Sarkisian, who's there now, another great offensive mind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's to the level of Saban, of Lane Kiffin, because I just said Nick Saban. To Lane Kiffin, he's not as good as Lane Kiffin, but I mean, it's opened up the doors for everything in Alabama. Now Alabama's that team that's going to score 50 points on you, and you got to keep up. And I would say outside of, like you said, Mike Leach, Steve Sarkisian, trying to kind of lead into my next point, the best offensive mind in college football, outside of those guys, reigns in Columbus, Ohio, with Mr. Ryan Day.
That was somebody else I was thinking of. So,
the
reason I say Leach, I said Leach above him because Leach has more longevity.
But where Kiffin gets him, Kiffin's done it on a bigger stage at a bigger school.
That's fair.
So, which kind of leads into my next point of, guys, next week, I cannot wait. Big Ten football starts next weekend.
Oh, I'm sure you can.
Which means every Saturday You all will see me in my scarlet and gray Ohio State colors. Well, you'll see me depending on which game's on at the time. I might still be wearing blue and white for Kentucky, depending on who's playing at the time of the podcast. Justin Fields takes the field, no pun intended, for Ohio State against Nebraska, week 1. And I cannot wait. So you wanted to talk about your child. Let me talk about my quarterback.
Okay, Justin Fields.
Les, I told you this earlier in the week. Ohio State ran their 40 times this past week.
That they did.
They posted the 40 times. You know who was the fastest Buckeye on the team?
I hear it was the quarterback.
It wasn't Garrett Wilson. It wasn't Trey Sermon. Wasn't Master T. Wasn't any of the corners, running backs or receivers. It was the quarterback. Justin Fields clocked in a 4.3 flat 40, which you pointed out, Les, is faster than Lamar Jackson's.
That it is.
Now,
that it is.
Am I saying that my quarterback is a better runner than Lamar Jackson? No. Just maybe just as fast, if not faster.
I think he is faster. I think that was the whole point of what the point was just brought up.
Which is going to open up my quarterback's game so much. If he wasn't already a deadly thrower of the football, you being able to use his legs this year and at the next level. You talked about Trevor Lawrence is the most NFL-ready quarterback you've seen. I'm not saying he's the most ready, but Justin Fields is NFL-ready.
Oh, absolutely. I don't dispute that for a second. I'll go as far as to say I'll make this hot take right now. I think this is the most talented quarterback class we've ever seen. I know. 2012 is going to ring a bell. 2004 is going to ring a bell. I think
that's tough because here's my question. Outside of the top 3 guys that we know that are probably going to go all in the top 10 for at least, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance. If you haven't seen Trey Lance play football, the kid is special. Go watch him. Who's the next guy up?
That's the thing. Well, here's why I say that, though. I think Trevor, if sky's the limit with Trevor and Justin. I think both have a very good shot to be not just all-pro quarterbacks, Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
They're franchise-changing quarterbacks.
They are franchise-changing quarterbacks. I mean, go back to 2012. You had that with Luck and then RG3 potentially, but the buzz around RG3 got really buzzing during the combine, and he started working out. And then people are like, "Oh, he's not just a guy that looked good at Baylor. Like this guy legit can make these throws." So the buzz. I just don't remember the buzz being around. Okay, I'm gonna watch how I say this.
You don't remember the buzz being around Luck and RG3 like you do these two.
Not like these two. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Andrew Luck had a lot of buzz. He was the best prospect since Elway. And before anybody wants to mix my words, I'm not saying that at all. But RG3 is more of a guy I compare RG3's rise in stock to very similar to Jay Cutler's. And the reason I say that is Jay Cutler was not very talked about up until he went to the combine and showed the kind of arm talent that he had. RG3 was talked about a little bit, but it exploded once he went to the combine. It's like, oh, he's proved he can make all the throws.
He can make all the throws. He runs the 40 very fast, just like receivers and running backs. Yeah, he shot up.
Exactly.
He was talked about as a first-round quarterback only because of his year he had at Baylor. But then when he went to the combine, then the conversation started. RG3 or Andrew Luck, which one you want going forward?
I was just saying now, and the thing is now we have that battle. I remember, it used to be, in 2015 or 16, I'm kind of blanking on which year it was, we had Jameis and Mariota, and I think that was kind of forced to a certain extent. I don't think you're not going to get a Jameis or Mariota out of Trevor and Justin. They're pro ready now. These are, like I said, I think these are the most pro ready top 2 quarterbacks in a class that we've ever seen. because I still had my questions about – I didn't have a lot of questions about Luck. I had a little bit about RG3, but thought he was good. I still think that, if he would have stayed healthy, he would have had a very successful NFL career. But I think, barring injuries, I think Trevor and Justin are the top two most pro-ready top two quarterbacks in a class. And the thing is, too – go ahead.
And what makes this like debate back and forth between the two even better? They both embrace it. They know it. They both know it. And the fact that they know it and they've been doing it since high school. It started at the Elite 11 camp.
No, it didn't start at the Elite 11 camp. No, it
started.
They both played in Georgia.
Yeah,
they both played in Georgia.
And, so, both of them are hearing every day, this guy Trevor Lawrence, the best quarterback in Georgia. On the other side, this kid Justin Fields is the best quarterback in Georgia. So they spark it there. Then you go to Elite 11, and they were far and beyond the two best quarterbacks at the Elite 11.
That's not even a debate. Trevor. In the early workouts, Trevor is making throws that are even if you watch the episodes, even have the other quarterbacks at the camp just going, "What the hell? You can make that throw? Holy shit!" And then Justin Fields comes out and dominates the 7-on-7.
The Elite 11, everybody said going in, everybody was like, well, Justin Fields is just another dual threat guy. And then they get into those 7-on-7s, and he's throwing darts, pinpoint accuracy.
And he really showed command of his offenses, which was one of the big question marks for him at the time.
And he, I like to bring up when we talk about Fields and Trevor all the time, Fields beat out Trevor Lawrence in the Elite 11 and won the Elite 11. And then Trevor obviously ended up finishing the number one quarterback in the class. Fields finished second. Fields stayed at home originally to go to Georgia. Trevor went to Clemson. And then obviously we know Justin Fields transferred to Ohio State.
You left out that Trevor went to Clemson and won a national title his freshman year and absolutely obliterated the Crimson Tide. But, yeah, there's that.
I was getting there. Calm down.
Okay.
Chill. I was going to get to the individual sides of it. Obviously Fields ended up going to Ohio State. Trevor, as you just said, won a national title his freshman year, obliterated Alabama, broke every barrier statistical freshman record you could. And then Fields, we know last year went on to have a Heisman Trophy-like year, had the Buckeyes best offense in the country, and came up short against Trevor Lawrence and Clemson in the college football playoff. Well, people don't remember. You know how many interceptions Justin Fields threw last year?
It was 3.
Okay, sorry.
Heading into the BCS playoff, it was 1.
1. And that's why when you go back and look at the stats, it only shows the 1 because they don't count college football playoff stats in those. But so yes, prior to the college football playoff, he threw 1 pick all year. Justin Fields, you talk about Trevor Lawrence checks all the boxes. Justin Fields checks all the boxes.
Justin Fields checks a lot of boxes for me. I'm saying for me. I think what separates Trevor from Justin for me, I think Trevor has slightly more command of the offense, and that's not even a knock on Fields. Trevor's command, I don't think Luck had that command when he was at Stanford. Where he just walks up to the line of scrimmage in the huddle and you could just look at him and say everyone's on sync with him. He just controls what's going on out there. Which is a very big trait in a quarterback, which is what you want in your franchise quarterback. And he's got it better than any prospect I've seen. Number 2, what stands out for Trevor versus Justin, I think Trevor can make more throws. And that's, again, not a knock on Justin at all. You look at some of the hardest throws to make. the back shoulder throws or, the cross-field throws or the throws. I mean, and you have to also look at throwing when to throw darts, when to throw lobs, when to put some air on it, when to throw with touch, when to throw with power. And Trevor does that, again, better than any quarterback I've seen. So, and that's what really separates Trevor from Justin for me. But, I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. With how Phillip Rivers played last week for the Browns, if we want to go ahead and draft Justin Fields, I am not going to be upset at all. I think Justin Fields is great. I think Justin Fields is great. I think Justin Fields, like I said, I think these two are.
And when I say Justin Fields, if I'm an NFL GM, yes, I'm taking, and I have the number 1 pick, I'm taking Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields. I know that. I will not let my fanhood go over that.
And he's a winner. I got to say that for Trevor. That's another thing. He's a flat-out winner.
But here's the thing. So if I'm looking at today's quarterback and what the NFL wants and what the NFL looks for, if you told me to take a prospect and build him based off today's quarterback, like you said, maybe a few things here and there, Justin Fields is that quarterback. I don't have to build him. He's right there. He can run. He can get out the pocket. He can make throws out of the pocket. He can make throws in the pocket. He's got the touch. He can throw darts. And he's got that. He's a winner too. And obviously Trevor's done it on a huge stage and has done it. We've seen it. Justin Fields last year, a hiccup with Chris Olave, and maybe we have a different story. Fields is a winner. And I think Fields really showed that last year in the Michigan game when he went into the tent hurt and came right back out and threw the touchdown. Fields is a winner. Fields wants nothing more than to – and also, when you're talking about Trevor and Justin, when you say they're a winner, look at what they did to bring college football back.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
It's not just what they're doing on the field as a winner. It's what they're doing off the field. We talked about when, who do we give credit for the Big Ten returning? A lot of that credit is Justin Fields. He never backed down on wanting to not play. He never backed down. He never just gave up when they said we weren't playing. He kept fighting till the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how he is on the football field. And that's what I want in my quarterback. Now, like I said, I would take Trevor Lawrence number 1 if I had the number 1 overall pick. But it's not like, and I know you're not saying this either, it's not like there's a huge gap between Lawrence and Fields. It's a tight gap. Now, for all we know, we could get to the combine next year and maybe Justin Fields blows more people away at the combine and ends up going over Lawrence. For all we know, because I keep seeing it in mock drafts, and like you, I see the talent, but I'm like you at the same time of where I'm like, compared to these two guys, he's nothing. He's not nothing compared to these two guys. For all we know, Trey Lance could go to the combine and somehow end up going above these guys.
I doubt it. I think the complete body of work for Trevor and Justin is just too much for him to overcome.
So if you had to compare Trevor Lawrence to a quarterback, a pro quarterback, who is your comparison?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I don't. This is so tough. The closest, I think he's if I had to compare a closest one, it's Josh Allen.
Really?
Yeah. If we're talking about the closest. Now, obviously, I think Trevor makes much better decisions than Josh Allen. But if you're looking at I'm talking 6'6", he's mobile, has a big arm. But obviously, I think Trevor's more talented than Josh Allen. But if I had to compare to who he plays the most like to me, I think to me that's him.
I don't see the Josh Allen comparison really.
I mean, they're around the same height. They're both mobile. They both have big arms. I mean,
but does Trevor really have as strong of an arm as Josh Allen?
Absolutely.
So you're telling me Trevor Lawrence could compete in a gunslinging contest with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah. Dude, his arm talent's off the charts, dude. Like, I mean, even when Trevor first got to Clemson, you have, Maria Taylor and Holly Rowe were talking about, they do those little college visits that they do every summer, and they got to Clemson, and the first thing they said they wanted to see, we want to see Trevor Lawrence throw the ball, and they both said the first throw he made, you watch the ball come out of his hands and you're just blown away. Trevor's got that type of talent.
All right, I can respect it. We've kind of talked about this all the time. If I have to give an NFL comparison to Justin Fields, it's Russell Wilson. Now, I know that's saying a lot considering what Russell Wilson's doing this year. But
I just see more. I like one of the first comparisons you've ever done for it better. He's Cam Newton without that stupid head cock when he throws it deep. I like that one better. Personal opinion. But you didn't like my Josh Allen comparison, so that's quite okay.
What I'm just thinking about is escapability, his ability to throw still with pinpoint accuracy on the run. He makes plays happen. Watching him just reminds me of Russell Wilson.
I think for me,
yes, Cam Newton without that stupid head cock is a definite.
And going back to what we were talking about, how talented this quarterback recruiting class for me, where this quarterback class is for me, I'm going to be completely honest. I really like Kyle Trask. To me, as far as from a talent perspective, as far as like who he plays like, I see a lot of Kirk Cousins. Now, whether he chokes in big game, on Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football or whatever it is yet to be seen. But I guess from an abilities and how he plays like, I see a lot of Kirk Cousins and Kyle Trask. I like. The more I watch him, the more I like. I'll tell you a quarterback I don't like, and now watch, given some recent predictions that have happened, watch him turn out to be the best one of all of them. But I really don't like the kid from BYU, Zach Wilson. I just don't I just don't like the way the ball comes out of his hands. I just don't like it. I mean, he had a great game last night against Houston, but I just don't like it.
I'll tell you a quarterback I've kind of always liked. I don't think he'll shoot up draft boards, but I do like him. Is Kellen Mond from Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
He's got big arm talent. He's got the mobility. He's definitely got the size. I think he just needs to work on his accuracy more. And, he got away with it last week against Florida, but there were a couple of balls that he threw deep for touchdowns that were underthrown. If he could just work on that, I think Kellen Mond is a very good quarterback at Texas A&M.
I'll give you another one that's I think is gonna be. I think one you should draft in about maybe the third round, with the potential maybe start off as a backup your first couple years, but then potentially could be a good quarterback down the road for you. And this is gonna sound biased as hell, but Sam Ehlinger. I think he's a guy you definitely do not want to draft Sam in the first round. I think he's still got a lot to work on as far as when to throw certain types of throws. I think he's still got to work on decision making to a certain extent, and I think he's got to learn to slide. But that's another one, and avoid taking so many hits and stop running with so much power. Especially, he's not the physical specimen to run with that kind of power that the Cam Newtons of the world are, but. Still pretty good athlete, but definitely somebody that I can see if you want to draft in the third round to start as a backup and then groom his way into a starting role. I like him that role. Hell, if the Colts want to draft Sam Ehlinger, I'm not mad at it either.
I'll pass on that.
Why don't you like Sam? You just
I
told me.
Like Sam.
I was like, you told me last week he's a baller.
He is. I just don't see it at the NFL level.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you don't want him to start right away. I disagree. I don't agree that he should start right away.
I don't know. I don't know. I might trust our guy we drafted in the 4th round a little
How
bit
about
more.
Eason? Jacob Eason?
Yeah.
Eason's definitely got better arm talent. That goes without saying. But anyways,
right.
Notre Dame is actually not blowing Louisville out of the water like I expected them to. So yeah, right. There's still another half of football left to play, and they just missed a field goal to end the half. So that was another question I was going to ask you. You know, we were talking about who's one of the best offensive minds in college football. Who do you think's the worst defensive coordinator? Chris Ash or Brian Brown? Ironically enough.
After how this is going, I think Brian Brown is.
I would normally agree, but Ash has a lot more talent to work with than Brown does.
Yeah. Brown might as well not even put his defense on the field because that's how they play.
Well, they held Notre Dame to 6 points in the first half, so.
It's the first time they've been able to hold anything all year.
That's true.
I mean, hell, they couldn't even hold WKU at times.
No kidding. I mean, geez. It's ugly. I mean, Louisville looks like a Big 12 team.
Yeah. They are a glorified Big 12 team playing in the ACC right now.
I dig the comparison. But
because
transitioning, we still got plenty of games left to go on today, and this fun-filled Saturday of college football. Of course, the biggest news coming out of college football is that Nick Saban is indeed cleared to coach tonight against Georgia after 3 straight negative COVID tests, meaning that his positive COVID test is becoming a false positive. So we got Georgia against Alabama tonight. Klucas, who do you like and why?
Alabama. Yeah, give me a second. I mean, I've said it 1,000 times when I'm looking at a game of this magnitude, I look at who's got the better quarterback. And I think I trust Mac Jones a little bit more than Stetson Bennett. I'm still not a huge fan of Mac Jones. Part of that is because every time I see number 10 in an Alabama uniform, I keep thinking it's A.J. McCarron. But I think Alabama's got more weapons, especially at the receiver position. Najee Harris is just absolutely taking off in this running game. And I think at the end of the day, I'm going to trust Alabama to make more plays because I think this Georgia team is not built for a shootout. But Alabama is going to make it a shootout for them. They're going to make Georgia keep pace, keep up with scoring, and I don't know if Georgia's built that way to do it.
You know, it's tough for me to go against St. Nick in the Tide. But I really have questions about that defense. And you talk about you always usually go with who's got the better quarterback and who's got the better coach, yada, yada, yada. And it's worth pointing out that Nick Saban absolutely owns, his former coaches that have coached under him, not named Dabo Swinney, but that's beside the point. Kirby Smart, obviously former defensive coordinator for Alabama. I like Georgia's defense a lot better. I'm going to be completely honest. I like Stetson Bennett more than Mac Jones. I do agree that Alabama has more weapons. I think that's why I think that makes Mac Jones look a lot better than what he really is. I mean, when you can just throw like little swing passes to Jalen Waddle and he can pretty much make an entire secondary miss like it's nothing. Something to be said for that. Of course, Devontae Smith, you throw it anywhere near him and he's got hands like glue. So,
and now the emergence of John Mechie in that receiving core has been huge for them as well.
That it has, but I'm looking at Georgia, how they defend the ball. The most points they've given up all season is to Tennessee with 21. I just think I just like Georgia's defense better, and I still think and you still have two very good receivers in Karis Jackson and George Pickens for Georgia, but I don't know. I think Georgia's better. I think Georgia's more complete on both sides of the ball right now than Alabama. But watch, they're gonna eat my words tonight. It's so tough for me to bet against Bama, but unless they're playing Clemson. But I don't know. I just think this Georgia team's more complete on both sides of the ball.
So here's the question, and me and my boss were talking about this as he's the Georgia fan. You know, we've seen how these last two Georgia-Alabama games have gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go back to the national championship game. Jalen Hurts can't put points on the board. Tua comes in, leads the comeback, wins the national title.
I was thinking
the year
thing.
after.
I know where you're going. I'm thinking the same thing.
The year after, Tua gets hurt. Jalen Hurts' redemption game comes in, gets the win for Alabama, secures the SEC title game. Could this be the game that Bryce Young gets in?
I was thinking the exact same thing. I think it's very possible. If Mac Jones comes in, he struggles against that Georgia defense. I don't think Nick Saban's going to hesitate to put Bryce Young in.
I mean, I'm almost to the point to where now I've watched it happen in 2 straight games where Georgia just doesn't come prepared to play the backup quarterback. I almost might do it just to mess with the psyche of Georgia.
Right, have Mac Jones come in for like one series, and if he doesn't do anything, just put Bryce Young in. I kind of like the way you think, Lucas. I feel like you should maybe be like a team personnel something. I like it.
I would do it just to mess with them. Oh God, here we go, backup quarterback again. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Kentucky. Kentucky don't ever prepare for the backup quarterback. You go back to when we injured Tim Tebow. We were beating Tim Tebow in Florida. All of a sudden, shout out to Colts tight end Trey Burton. Comes in at quarterback and wins the game for Florida. Last year, Florida again. We're whooping Florida all game long. We injure Felipe Franks, insert Kyle Trask, we lose the game. I would do it just to mess with the psyche.
I kind of like where you're going with this. As I say, speaking of Kyle Trask, it's unfortunate that I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to see him, that we're not going to be able to see him play this week, because I think he would have just shredded apart. He probably could have thrown for like 10 touchdown passes today against that awful LSU defense. Oh, man. But definitely Georgia-Bama is the one game that stands out for being the best game of this week.
Oh, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Matthew Spencer. Miami beats Pittsburgh today.
Yes, De'Aaron King had a nice little bounce-back game after just getting mollywopped by Clemson the week before, which you still owe me $20 for.
I don't. Spencer does.
I'm talking to Spencer.
Oh, okay.
I'm definitely talking to Spencer.
Shout out to the Gamecocks of South Carolina upsetting number 15 Auburn.
That is what I wanted to bring up. Thank you for reminding me. Look, I was really big on Bo Nix coming out of high school. He is making me look bad, and I don't like it. Auburn should have blown the gates off South Carolina today, especially with how they were playing early. But mistakes that Bo Nix kept making kept South Carolina in the game, and they eventually took the lead and won. I don't like it. Bo, you're making me look bad. I don't like it. I don't like to be made look bad.
He doesn't, because he gets made look bad between him and Spencer a lot of times, and he hates it.
Do I?
If I'm asking Spencer, yes.
Yes, of course. Spencer never thinks he's wrong, even when you prove him wrong.
It's the right mindset to have.
Yeah, I respect it. It's a lot of respect to it. It's like I'm growing with my asperity to have that kind of confidence in my life. I had a great start last night, actually, if we're talking about confidence. I woke up this morning and I got messages from a Snapchat that I sent last night. Obviously, I was on cloud 9 feeling myself. Apparently, what I sent to a bunch of different people was me smiling, like kind of like waving, with a caption that says $20 says I'm better looking than the guy you're talking to.
How much money did you wake up to this morning?
None, but still.
Or did you or that you lost?
Or they just didn't want to take the bet. I'm just saying. That's what I'm sticking with. So I feel like they just didn't want to take the bet. The messed up part is it was not singled towards anybody, because apparently I sent it to DJ too, and so DJ goes, "Hey, no offense, bro, but me is cuter than you," and I was like, at first I didn't know what he was talking about, and then he told me, and I was like, kind of glad you said that.
All right, so is that all we got for college football this week?
I think so. I think it is time for your favorite segment of the week, your NFL Pick'ems.
Man, I got to pick a theme song for this segment or something.
You do. I mean, could we could, pick, Natalie's song. I mean, we could always do that.
All right, well, for this NFL segment, last week, still finished over 500, but it was kind of a down week for myself and Les, since we picked the same game last week. Obviously last week the Broncos and Patriots didn't play, so that was a squash. They play this week. So I went 8-6 last week. Well, we went 8-6 last week. We obviously picked Tampa over Chicago. Chicago ended up winning by 1 because Tom Brady doesn't know the difference between 3rd and 4th down.
And Nick Foles owns Tom Brady.
Yep. We picked the Jaguars over the Texans, and finally Deshaun Watson was able to just say screw it and put the team on his back.
I feel like that had a lot to do with Bill O'Brien being fired. I feel like that was just Deshaun Watson's statement game, like, hey, Bill's gone, let me show you what I can do. And I'm here for it.
Oh, 100%. We picked the Chiefs over the Raiders, and Las Vegas got a huge win last week. We picked Buffalo over the Titans. The Titans ended up winning on Tuesday night.
Which I'm glad they did, though, actually.
Why's that?
Because it caused me to beat you in fantasy.
Oh, yeah. Garbage time touchdown for no reason.
A win is a win. Spence, and I was talking to Spencer this week at work, and he said that he lives off garbage time points.
Yeah. That's why he takes Gardner Minshew, because his team is probably going to be down half the time, so he's going to have to throw it a bunch.
I respect the strategy, though.
I do, too.
That's why I picked Stafford.
We picked San Francisco over Miami, and Miami just absolutely demolished San Francisco.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming at all.
None of us did. Obviously, we both picked the Colts over the Browns, and the Browns got the win thanks to Phillip Rivers.
And our zone defense getting picked apart by Baker Mayfield for most of the game.
Yep. And then outside of that,
I do want to say, I'm going to touch on a little bit on that game. I will never take Anthony Costanzo for granted ever again, because whoever we had line up at left tackle, whether we wanted to move Braden Smith over to that spot or whether LaRaven Clark was the starter for most of the game over that tackle position, Myles Garrett and Olivier Vernon just destroyed them, whoever it was. So I will never, ever take Anthony Costanzo for granted ever again. I apologize if I ever have.
All right, well, how about we start off with the Colts? All Sunday games this week because of the Tuesday night game. The Thursday night game got pushed back. So, Colts and Bengals. Do the Colts get a bounce-back win?
Duh. Bengals are trash. So, yeah, I got the Colts.
I've got the Colts as well. I got the Colts winning this one 32-17 with a huge bounce-back week.
I think that's fair.
How about a divisional game? Cleveland and Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh.
I want you, I was actually low-key waiting for you to say something because I want to see if this is the game. I think it's funny. We went all last week with agreeing. And here we are in our second pick'em, and I think I'm going to disagree with you this week.
Are you taking the Browns?
I am going to take the Browns this week. I like the way they're playing. Don't get me wrong, I like that Pittsburgh defense. I like the way they're playing. I just think the Browns have so much momentum right now, and I think this is a staple game to show whether or not they're for real. I think they're establishing a good culture. Yeah, I think this is a statement game that they need to have. So I like the Browns in this one.
I am taking the Steelers. I've got the Steelers winning this one 38-27.
All right.
Baker and the Browns kind of struggle against very good pass rushes. Now, obviously, last week was a different story.
I was going to say, it just didn't last week.
But this Pittsburgh pass rush is a little bit different. So I think Pittsburgh's able to get to Baker a lot more times. I think he makes a couple of mistakes. Pittsburgh ends up capitalizing on those mistakes. Chicago going down to Carolina to take on the Panthers. The red-hot Carolina Panthers. Has Matt Rule found his groove in the NFL?
I'm not going to say that yet, but I think the Panthers are hot. I like them over the Bears.
Not so fast, my friend. Back-to-back disagreements. I got Chicago. I think this Bears defense is able to get after Teddy Bridgewater. And I think after watching what they did to Tom Brady in that offense last week, I think they should have no issues against Teddy in Carolina. But because of Chicago's limitations on offense at times, I got the Bears winning 25-24 against Carolina.
I'm so much – I'm kind of liking that we're disagreeing more than just agreeing the whole time because that just makes for just a boring segment. So I am here for it. So next, who we got next, Klucas?
Detroit visits Jacksonville.
Ooh. I'm torn. Neither very good teams. But I'm going to roll with my fantasy quarterback and say Matthew Stafford has a good game. Kenny Golladay is in his second game back. So I like the Lions to come out.
I do as well. I got the Detroit Lions winning this one 33-27. Both have terrible defenses. Jacksonville's going to be able to stay in close, but I like, obviously, Matthew Stafford just a little bit more. How about the Falcons visiting Minnesota?
What have I always said about the Falcons? I don't trust them. So I got the Vikings. I think Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins and those Viking weapons with Thielen and the emergence of Justin Jefferson, I think it's too much for Atlanta to handle. Even if they go up 30 Atlanta goes up 30 with like 2 minutes to go, it's going to get blown anyway. So, gosh, yeah. Poor Atlanta. Not even poor Atlanta fans. It's their own fault. It's Atlanta's own fault, but
as I talk about this all the time, my boss has told me two things that he will not be cheering for Atlanta anymore until these two things happen. And they both kind of happened this week. One of them didn't physically happen yet, but Dan Quinn gets fired, which actually happened.
Needed to happen.
And the day that Matt Ryan leaves Atlanta. Now, that hasn't physically happened yet, but the owner came out and said that he does not trust Matt Ryan going forward. So he's all in on trying to tank one of the two Georgia boys, either Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence, for next year. And I'll say, you give any of those two quarterbacks, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, to start their NFL career, boy, oh boy.
Plus, I think for nostalgic reasons, I feel like it would be so awesome to see like a more mobile quarterback in Atlanta again, kind of like those old Michael Vick days. So I would love to see Justin Fields go to Atlanta.
Alrighty. This, by the way, shootout game, Minnesota and Atlanta. It's going to be a fun game to watch if you're an more offensive guy. I got the Vikings winning 42-37.
Well, you know what? Geez, if Matt Ryan's going to be in the free agent pool or whatever, going to be looking for a job, why don't the Colts just sign him? I like Matt Ryan personally.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
I like Matt Ryan. I'm sorry.
No, I want a quarterback we can build on for the next 15 years. I'm tired of old quarterbacks.
Okay, fine. You know, I still disagree.
I'm not
I would
trying to
love
go.
it.
I'm not trying to go to the Super Bowl and be up 28-3 and we lose.
Yeah, that would be pretty. Because then we'd be the new Falcons at that point. But still, no,
Yeah,
I
I don't want to be the
seriously,
Falcons.
I think that I put that more on Quinn and Kyle Shanahan than I do Matt Ryan in that particular game, and I put the rest of their blown comebacks on Dan Quinn. But we'll see. But I like Matt Ryan. But continue.
Next game, kind of a boring game, kind of a yawner. The football team taking on the Giants. Yeah.
What's crazy is that was not even staged. I really did have to yawn.
I got the football team 24-23 over the Giants.
I like my I'm gonna roll with my guy Danny Dimes just because I'm gonna be that guy. This game gives me no interest at all, so I'm just gonna ride with my guy. If we're being completely honest.
Lamar Jackson in Baltimore travels to Philly.
I think Baltimore has no problem.
Yeah, I've got Baltimore winning 43-17 in this one.
Damn, holy shit. Okay then. I think Carson Wentz personally doesn't get enough credit for how good he actually is. I thought he played very well at times against Pittsburgh last week, and with guys that never even heard of. Just total practice squad players, it looks like at times. But I think Baltimore's just got too much for them to handle. So, yeah. I don't know if it'll be that much of a blowout, but Baltimore wins.
I've got some pretty high-scoring games this week.
Yeah, apparently.
Tennessee hosting Houston.
It's tough to really go against Tennessee right now, especially with that ass whooping they just put on Buffalo. And if Derrick Henry wants to continue to give me points, I'm here for it. So I like the Titans in this matchup. I don't like the Titans. I just predict them to win.
We got you. We understand.
Well, Spencer might not. He's probably going to watch the show and be like, "Oh, Les said he likes the Titans," and I'm never going to hear the end of it. So
I've got the Titans winning by 22 in this one, 42-20 over Houston.
Jesus. Pete, dude.
All right. So the game that was supposed to happen last week that will happen this week, Cam Newton is back. Cam Newton in New England versus the Denver Broncos.
You say Cam Newton is back? Yeah, Patriots win.
Just in time, too, because Russell Wilson just went on his bye week for fantasy. I would have got blown out by Spencer if Cam didn't come back.
I would say I wish it would have happened I wish it would have happened against me, but I already beat you in fantasy last week, so I'm okay. With my quarterback, my only quarterback scoring 4 points.
My quarterback scored negative .92, so.
You had 2 quarterbacks starting. I only had 1, and he scored 4 points.
Anyways, so I got the Patriots winning this one 27-17 with Cam being back officially. I think they win this one.
Do we even know who's going to start for the Broncos? Is it going to be Drew Lock? Is it going to be Ripon?
I don't know. They just released Blake Bortles this morning, so it won't be Blake Bortles.
Yeah, it will not be. So.
All right, so 4:05, the Jets take on the Dolphins in Miami. And you know what? I'm going to ride Miami's hot streak off last week because they're playing the Jets. I got Miami winning this one 40-16.
God, the Jets are just awful, and I hate it because that's more than likely where Trevor's going to end up going. And I just hate it.
Bring Sam Darnold to Indy.
I'm here for it. If we want to trade it 2 second-round picks, I'm here for it for Sam Darnold. I don't care. Sam Darnold gets a lot of flack. I think he's a good quarterback in a very bad situation. But I'm gonna tell you, New York, if you don't build around my son, you and I are gonna have some problems.
All right, LeVar, calm down.
Hey, don't you put that evil on me. No. I let my son take his own career path.
I take it you got Miami?
Yes.
All right.
New York is horrible.
425, a quarterback matchup we all love to see. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers are in Tampa taking on Tom Brady and the Bucs.
I think the Packers are the best team in football, so I got them. Wait, first of all, you just turned purple, so I'm kind of concerned. You kind of lit up purple like that girl off the Willy Wonka movie.
Oompa loompa doopity doo.
Exactly.
I had to go against. We all know I really like Tom Brady, but I don't think the Packers are the best team in football. But I do have the Packers winning this one 32-28. I think this is going to be a great quarterback showdown.
I think the Packers are the best team top to bottom.
Everybody has their own opinion. Anyway,
All right, hold on.
Sunday Night Football. Rams, 49ers in San Francisco.
Well, given how crappy San Francisco's played in spots this year, and how good LA's played, I like the Rams. I think the Rams are finally back to what they do best, and that's run, play action, roll out, pass by Goff. And of course, now that their offense is staying on the field longer, their defense is starting to make stops when they need to. Aaron Donald is Aaron Donald, like the Rams.
I like the Rams as well. I got them winning this one 31-22 in this game. Watching Jimmy G's performance last week doesn't really give me hope for this week's game.
Is he even going to start after last week's game? Or is it going to be C.J. Beathard?
We will see. This week, though, we do get a special treat. 2 Monday Night Football games this week. First, we get Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in Buffalo taking on Josh Allen and the Bills.
I think the Chiefs blow out the Bills. The reason I say that is they're going to be pissed off coming off that loss to Oakland, and Mahomes is just going to come out gunslinging from the very beginning. He's going to light that Bills defense up, and the Bills have a great defense, but with how I think Mahomes is going to attack early, you're just not going to be able to defend it.
I like the Chiefs as well. I don't necessarily think it's a blowout, but I have the Chiefs winning this one, high scoring, 42-30. So, and then the last Monday Night Football game, we get my preseason MVP pick, Kyler Murray, and the Arizona Cardinals taking on Andy Dalton and the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm gonna probably roll with. I'm gonna look for the Cardinals. The Cardinals actually have a very good defense. The Cowboys' defense is some of the worst I've seen at the pro level in a long time. And I think Kyler Murray has a real bounce back game. I haven't really liked the way he's played the last couple weeks, but I think he has a real nice bounce back game and kind of shows why you picked him as your preseason MVP.
I couldn't agree more.
Oh my God, is Louisville about to take the lead over Notre Dame? Holy cow.
I couldn't agree more. I don't think this Dallas team is going to fall that far off like a lot of people think with Andy Dalton at the helm the rest of the year. Everybody does forget that Andy Dalton and probably one of the toughest divisions in football, well, probably at the time, the toughest division in football, did take the Bengals to the playoffs for, 5 straight years?
Yeah, I think it was 4 or 5, but he never won a game though.
When Andy Dalton, yes, but when Andy Dalton came in, you got to remember Pittsburgh was just coming off of winning a Super Bowl, and Baltimore was winning a Super Bowl in that division in those years. So he was playing in a very tough division and still coming out. People forget Andy Dalton is a very solid NFL quarterback. He's not a franchise-changing quarterback or anything like
he's
that.
solid for sure.
But he's an average to a slightly above average quarterback. And with the weapons that he has in Dallas, it's not going to be, a huge drop-off. But I do have Arizona coming out with a statement game, like you said, for Kyler Murray. Lights are on Monday Night Football. I got the Cardinals winning 43-28 in this one.
I can respect it.
So those are our NFL picks for this week.
And I like that it is a lot different than last week's. That's the fact that we both have different opinions. Because I'm not gonna lie, last week was kind of boring. It's like it's like I picked this, I agree with you. I picked that, I agree with you. Something to be said for disagreeing.
It's fun every now and then to agree. Knows that we're on the same page.
I mean, I think that's where Spencer comes in handy because I think Spencer is so much just disagreeing with, like, doesn't matter what we say, like, he's going to disagree with us. So, like, now that when you're, like, in a heated debate with him and then one of us just, like, comes in and be like, and actually has each other's back, it's kind of like a relief feeling.
Oh, I told you last week after agreeing so many times, Spencer would have purposely picked a game against us just to
He
say.
definitely would have.
So, all righty. Well, anything else you want to talk about here, Les?
Is Louisville actually playing defense?
Shit.
Is Louisville actually beating Notre Dame right now?
Even a blind squirrel finds an acorn every now and then.
Yeah, well, obviously there's plenty of time left in the third quarter, so we're going to find out. But anyways, I think that about wraps up another episode of the show. Klucas, I'm not going to lie, man. I had quite a good time on the show today.
I did too, despite not feeling well to begin, but I did too.
This is like your Michael Jordan food poisoning game. Because we can't call it the flu game anymore because he's already debunked that.
That's true.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, like the little lighting in the background, like how you're just changing a bunch of different colors is kind of entertaining right now.
It's trippy.
It's trippy, man. Just like those old Juicy J songs.
Yep.
Oh man. I'm not gonna get in on that. But until next, as always, tell us what you liked and didn't like, and until next time, this is the Less and More Sports Podcast, and we out.